I'm Dawn Mercer, 33, a third-grade teacher scraping by in a high-rise walk-up near the Loop. Last week, my phone rang during dinner. Don't come, it's for VIP kids only. Poor kids don't belong here, get a VIP card or get out. My sister's words landed like a slap, her tone smug over the line. I'd just wired her $3,700 that morning for the lakefront splash party, her son's big birthday, complete with brand floats and photographers. Family support, she called it. Now this. My son Casey, 4, sat frozen at the table, fork midair. He'd been counting down days to splash with his cousin. Eyes lit up over the invite pic I'd shown him. Her laugh cut in again. Dawn, it's exclusive. Collabs need the right crowd, no chaos. Casey's adorable. Stream the live feed instead. He dropped the fork, face twisting. Tears burst out, hot and sudden, his small hands balling into fists. Mommy, am I poor? The question gutted me, but I scooped him up, arms tight around his shaking frame. No yelling back, no scene. We're good, buddy, I whispered, grabbing keys. We left the call hanging, door clicking shut behind us. She'd cashed the check hours ago, Venmo confirmation still fresh in my app, but us erased. A week ticked by in silence. Then morning hit with 56 missed calls lighting up my screen. Voicemails piled in, her voice fraying. Dawn, everything's dead, no electricity, no water, no Wi-Fi. The party's a disaster. Landlord's knocking. Did you fix the bills like always? Panic edged every word. I stared at the notifications, thumb steady on reply. Can the VIP card pay bills? I sent, then muted her. That was the spark. Things unraveled fast after that. If you've ever watched family turn your help into a punchline, drop your story in the comments, smash like, subscribe, and hit the bell. You won't believe how this VIP mess flipped on her. That reply hung in the air like a bad decision I couldn't take back. Heidi had leaned on me hard from the start of her influencer gig, back when they bought the condo. She dragged me over for fixes. Dawn, these walls are buckling from the lake wind, grab your drill. I spent a full Saturday on my knees, sealing cracks with compound, the humidity making everything stick. Corey hovered nearby, filming a quick sister help story for her feed. Thanks for the assist, he said, but it felt like background noise. She posted the before-after. Caption, family magic, without tagging me. No reimbursement for the materials. I bought $50 at the hardware store down the block. The utilities sealed the deal. Our score's too low for setup, Heidi explained over coffee, eyes wide with that practice plea. Put it under yours. We'll cover monthly. I hesitated, but Mom called right then. Do it for your sister, she's chasing dreams. Icure, I logged in that night, linking my bank to ComEd for electricity, People's Gas for water and heat, Comcast for Wi-Fi. First bill hit $280. Venmo came quick. Month 3, it stopped. I'd text reminders. Heidi fired back with excuses. Collab shoot ran long next week. Dad chimed in group text. Ease up, Dawn, she's hustling. I covered it. Watching my savings dip. Screenshots became my quiet habit. I'd snap the app screen's balances climbing to $450 unpaid by month 5. Heidi justified every delay. This swimwear deal's gold once it posts. Boom, payback. She'd send her own pics Taylor in sponsored outfits. Likes pouring in. See the vision. Mom backed her up in calls. Don't make her feel bad, you were always the practical one. Dad grunted agreement. Help where it counts. The pressure layered on. Subtle but steady, like the endless loop traffic outside my window. Family dynamic at work, Heidi the star. Me the shadow keeping lights on. Rhonda caught me scrolling those screenshots at lunch one day. Dawn, that's not family, that's a loan shark in heels. We were at our usual spot. Salads half eaten. She leaned in, voice low. Cancel it all. You're not her ATM. I laughed it off, but her stare pinned me. Think about Casey, what if she pulls this on him someday? The words landed heavier than the fork in my hand. Rhonda's straight talk cut through my excuses every time, fellow teacher. Single mom like me. No tolerance for takers. It built to last week's ask. My phone lit up during grading papers. Heidi's voicemail first. Dawn. Party deposit due $3,700. Swim collabs huge floats. Photographer. VIP setup at the lakefront. Can miss it for Taylor. Text followed with a glossy mock-up branded banners. Pastel inflatables. Family discount if you front it, I'll promo your classroom fund or something. Mom texted seconds later. Be there for her. Honey, she's overwhelmed. Dad added a voice note. Stingy vibes don't suit you, send it quick. Their tag team hit as always, guilt wrapped in praise for Heidi's hustle. I stared at the screen. Thumb frozen on Venmo. Screenshots from the app stared back. Unpaid electric at $210, water at $180, Wi-Fi $95, total backlog $685. Heidi's Justify echoed temporary glitch. My chest tightened, not anger yet, just the weight of years carrying her load. Rhonda's warning replayed. I typed back to Heidi. Sent. Confirmation buzzed. Hearts from her end. You're gold. But as the app closed, I pulled up the utility portals again. Balances mocked me. No more. Finger on the screen. I selected cancel autopay for all three. Confirmation emails pinged, notice sent. Cycle ending in days. No drama. Just done. With the apps closed. The real storm brewed. Heidi's enthusiasm didn't skip a beat. Her follow-up text arrived as I folded laundry, screen glowing in the dim living room light. Deposit locked, swimwear brands thrilled, photographers top tier, capturing every splash for the reel, Taylor's set for his VIP moment. The invoice link opened to line items $3,700, broken down permit fees for the lakefront spot, custom floats with logos, lifeguard crew certified for kids. Venmo the total, it's the push we need. I scanned the numbers, finger tracing the send button. The fresh cancel notices sat in my inbox, but her words pulled. On its way, I typed. Hitting confirm. The transfer whooshed through, balance dipping noticeably. She messaged back instantly. Legend now. Quick favor, the utility dashboard's frozen again. Gas alert popping up weird. Your credentials won't take a sec. I set the laundry basket down, pulling up the shared login. The dashboard refreshed, revealing the mess in stark detail. Electricity tab $270 past due. Flagged red. Water meter 170, with late fees tacked on. Wi-Fi router status 120. Service warning blinking. Cumulative $560 from the last 2 cycles alone. History log showed autopay bypassed repeatedly. Heidi's glitches logged as manual holds. I zoomed in, capturing screen after screen. Files saving to my drive. Each click felt heavier, evidence stacking like bricks. The phone vibrated in my hand, Heidi's name flashing. I answered on the 3rd ring, sinking onto the couch. Dawn, deposits gold, thanks for jumping on it. Her voice bubbled, all post-transfer glow. Taylor's practicing cannonballs in the tub. I gripped the phone tighter, happy to help. She transitioned smooth. Oh, heads up on invites, they're locked for VIP access. Collab rules only, kids from partner families. No extras to keep it clean for shots. Casey's laughter echoed from his room. Toy boats splashing in the sink. What about Casey? I pressed. Tone neutral. She paused, then chuckled low. Poor kids don't belong here, get a VIP card or get out, it's optics. Dawn, stream the highlights, he'll love the edits. The words landed flat, but Casey's door creaked open behind me. He padded in, rubber duck in hand, catching the tail end. His steps faltered, duck dropping to the floor with a squeak, face paling. Tears welled fast, spilling over in fat drops that soaked his shirt collar. He clutched my leg, voice muffled. Not VIP. I dropped the phone to speaker, muting her mid-excuse. Arms circled him as he buried his face, body trembling with quiet gasps. No response to her, no explanation. End call pressed firm, screen going dark. We stayed like that, his warmth against me the only sound in the room. Rhonda picked up on the second buzz when I redialed, her voice cutting through static. What's the damage this time? I laid it out, the deposit drain. Log-in, dive into debt. The casual gut punch on the line. She called him poor, like it's a punchline. Rhonda's breath sharpened. That's crossing lines. Revenge mode. Dawn. Yank those utilities, let her feel the dark. Her advice landed blunt, honed from years of playground politics and parent-teacher wars. Casey's not collateral for her grid. The call ended with her promise to swing by tomorrow, alone again. I reopened the screenshots. Thumb scrolling balances. The idea solidified, not just cut, but confront. Fingers itched toward the group chain. The chain opened to a blank compose screen. I pulled up the drafts folder first, piecing together the trail. Screenshots from the utility dashboard sat ready. Electricity overdue notices stamped with dates. Water usage logs showing skipped payments. Wi-Fi alerts for disconnection risk, each one time-stamped, clear as receipts from the corner store. I attached the Venmo history next to the $3,700 transfer for the party deposit, labeled Taylor's Bash in the memo. Older ones followed $200 for the plumber last fall when their sink backed up during a shoot, $150 for the condo association fee they forgot. Receipt scanned from my phone's camera roll. The email subject line read, Family Contributions Summary. Body kept simple. Attached are details of supports provided. No further auto-pay from my accounts. Send hit before doubt crept in. The group thread me. Heidi, Corey, Mom. Dad pinged instantly. Mom's response popped first. Dawn, what's this? You're upsetting your sister over money. Dad added a thumbs down emoji. Not the time for spreadsheets. Call Heidi. Heidi jumped in, all caps. Are you serious? This is sabotage right before Taylor's Day, Corey backed her. Legal much, we'll see about that. I read without replying. Watching the frenzy build, Heidi doubled down. It's just temporary, collab cash is coming. Don't make me the villain here, Mom echoed. Family first. Dawn, drop this. The Justify rolled like waves on the lake, Heidi's go-to move. You owe us for all we've done, she typed, flipping the script. Corey sent a voice note, tone clip. Back off or we'll cut you out for good, Dad chimed. Fix it now, Dawn, don't be dramatic. Their pile-on felt familiar, pressure squeezing like the crowded L train at rush hour. I typed once. See attachments, reimbursements due Friday. Attachments resent for emphasis, bill debts totaling $820 now with fees. Party wire highlighted in bold. Rhonda texted separate, her chain buzzing. Saw the group blow up. Stand firm, they're scrambling. Her support steadied me as the thread devolved. Heidi threatened, You'll regret this family chat seeing your true colors, Mom pleaded. Think of Taylor, he needs this party. I muted notifications. Opening the utility portals instead. Electricity account cancel notice confirmed. Effective cycle end. Water disconnection queued if unpaid. Wi-Fi service hold activated. Emails forwarded to Heidi with polite notes. Transfer to your name today. You've had notice. Corey's final jab landed. This hurts everyone. Dawn. Hope you're happy. I closed the app. No reply. The quiet settled, broken only by Casey's soft snores from his room. Morning light filtered through blinds. The alarm buzzed at dawn, pulling me from fitful sleep. Casey's room door stood ajar, his small form curled under covers. I dressed quick. Coffee black and hot. Mind on the park. Live stream link from Heidi arrived at 9 sharp, thumbnail showing Taylor in oversized shades. Branded towel draped like a cape. Tune in 10 a.m., the caption read. VIP vibes only. I propped the tablet on the kitchen counter, Casey climbing onto a stool beside me. Watch cousin swim, he asked. Eyes bright despite yesterday's sting. I nodded, ruffling his hair. Yeah, buddy, let's see. 10 o'clock hit. Feed flickering to life. Balloons bobbed in wind off the lake. Pastel floats bobbing in the shallow end. Guests milled kids in matching swimwear. Parents snapping posed shots. Photographer circled, directing smiles. Taylor splashed center stage. Laughter tinny through speakers. Casey leaned in, clapping at the cannonball. Big jump. Then glitch screen froze on a mid-air pose. Audio cut to static. Refresh did nothing. Comments scrolled below. What's up? Lag. Where's the action? My phone vibrated first. Heidi's number. I let it ring to voicemail. Watching the feed stutter back. Lights in the pavilions dimmed, then died. Pumps hummed to silence. Water stilling in the basin. Caterers fumbled coolers. Ice melting into cheese platters under the sun. Guests shifted uneasy. Kids whining as floats deflated slow. A parent yelled for the lifeguard, who shrugged at the silent booth. Photographer packed gear, muttering about reshoots. VIP crowd thinned fast, branded families piling into Ubers. Umbrellas snapping shut. Calls stacked up 10, 20, 36 by 11. Voicemails layered frantic. Dawn, pump stopped, water's green already. Lights out on the grill. Another Wi-Fi dropped midstream. Sponsors are texting bail. Then 52. Voice breaking. No electricity means no music. No fridges, food spoiling. Water pressure's gone. Fountains dry. 66 total. Last one raw. Landlords at the gate says shut off for unpaid. Please. Dawn. Flip it back. Taylor's crying in the sand. Her plea cracked. Background chaos of shouts and doors slamming. I unmuted the tablet. Feed gone black. Casey poked the screen. All done. I pulled him off the stool. Setting it aside, phone in hand, I drafted the text. Can the VIP card pay bills? Send. No follow-up. Her read receipt popped. Then nothing. The quiet stretched. Broken by the fridge hum in my own kitchen steady. Paid on time. Afternoon shadows lengthened across the floor. A knock rattled the door just as Casey napped. I peered through the peephole. Corey standing there, shirt untucked, face flushed from the stairs. He shifted, envelope in hand. I unlatched, stepping back. Dawn, he started, voice tight. We need to talk. He pushed in without weight, pacing the narrow hall. Heidi's a wreck. Party's fallout, sponsors pulling out. This is on you. I crossed arms, leaning against the wall. On me. He waved the envelope, papers crinkling. Your little stunt cost us $3,700 back, plus damages, small claims if needed. The threat hung, his eyes narrowing. We trusted you with accounts, now everything's cut. Legal says it's fraud. I took the envelope, scanning the printout invoice for reimbursement and losses. Figures inflated with event fees. Fraud, I echoed, handing it back. You ignored notices. Pay your share. Corey leaned closer, tone dropping. Family doesn't sue family, but push us, and we will. Heidi's deals are tanking. Blame spreads fast. I held ground, voice even. Blame the bills you skipped. He scoffed, pulling his phone. See, this group chat's blowing up. Mom's begging you to stop. A screenshot flashed Mom's message. Dawn, please, end this madness. Dad below, come to your senses. Corey pocketed it. Drop the act. Wire the full amount now. The standoff stretched, his foot tapping the linoleum. Casey stirred in the next room. Small cough breaking tension. I stepped toward the door. Out. He didn't budge. Not until you agree. My phone lit up Rhonda's text. Door cam shows him. Want backup. I typed quick. Handled. To Corey. No deal. Attachments resent, see the proof. I forwarded the latest screenshots of disconnection confirmations. Bill histories with their holds marked. Friday deadline stands. He glared, crumpling the envelope. You'll regret crossing us. Door slammed behind him. Echo fading down the hall. Rhonda called seconds later. He gone. Her voice pulled me to the window, watching him storm the street. Yeah, brought papers. Threats. She paused. Breathe. You're reclaiming what's yours, no shame in that. Her calm washed over, reminding me of late-night vents over wine. Casey's safe. That's the win. The call wrapped with her offer for pizza later. I sank onto the couch, phone in lap. Venmo notifications trickled in by evening. First from Heidi, $1,000 note toward deposit. Then Corey, $1,000 more. Kurt, don't push. Last from her, $1,700. Full now, happy, total matched. I screenshot the lot. Filing under receipts. No thanks sent. The balance restored. But the line drawn sharper. Weeks blurred into quiet routine. Heidi's social feed shifted tone by month's end. Posts once glossy now edged defensive. Taylor's recovery playdate pics captioned, real life wins. Backlash comments piled under old party clips. Where's the VIP glow? Sponsors ghosted fast. One email leak hitting her stories. Contract terminated, event mishap violated terms. Her follower dip showed in analytics she shared publicly. Chasing sympathy likes. Chicago's property taxes hit hard then. Condo fees jumping 20% on the Lakeview. She posted a garage sale flyer, designer bags. Kid gear. Fresh start vibes. Buyers haggled curbside, neighbors whispering about the influencer flop, debt collectors called. Public record searches pulling up liens on the unit. Mom and Dad felt the ripple next. Their building group chat buzzed with side eyes. Heidi's folks always borrowing, one neighbor typed, tagging old favors. Dad's fishing buddies dropped invites, citing family drama fatigue. Mom's bridge club thinned. Cards shuffled in silence over coffee. Bills stacked for them too, retirement checks stretched thin without my quiet wires. They downsized to a one-bedroom walk-up in the suburbs. Garage emptying of holiday totes. No calls came my way, but Rhonda heard through her network. Their floating loans now ironies thick. I blocked numbers clean mid-second month. Heidi's last text sat unread, talk for Taylor. Corey's followed. Petty ends bad. Mom's voicemail lingered, deleted. We miss Casey, Dad's too. Come home. No response. Casey asked once, drawing a boat on construction paper. Cousin swim? I knelt, meeting his eyes. Different swims now. We joined a local rec league instead. Splashes echoing in the community pool without filters or fees. My classroom fund grew steady. Parents donating for supplies without strings. Over time, the space cleared. No more dashboard pings. No group alerts. Rhonda joined us for league meets, cheering from bleachers. Boundaries work, she'd say, handing out snacks. Casey's strokes strengthened, medals pinned to his wall. My evenings filled with grading, walks along the river walk, coffee without guilt. The line held firm, no cracks, no pulls back. Looking back, the mess taught sharp. Blood doesn't buy blind loyalty, it demands balance, not drain. Set your edges early, or they carve you hollow. Self-respect trumps ties, every time walk tall when they push. That's the real legacy. Past quiet to the ones who matter.
Oh, honey, you should see your face when you try to tell a story. Matthew's voice rang out across our living room, drawing snickers from our gathered friends. She never gets to the point, just rambles on and on. It's like watching someone try to parallel park blindfolded. My cheeks burned as familiar laughter filled the room. I gripped my wine glass tighter, forcing the practiced smile I'd worn for the past 5 years of our marriage. Inside, something snapped. My name is Tasha Reynolds, and at 32, I'm tired of being the punchline to every one of my husband's jokes. I work as a marketing executive at one of Houston's top firms, managing million-dollar campaigns and a team of 15 people. But at home, I'm just Matthew's favorite target, the subject of his endless jokes about everything from my cooking to my appearance. Tonight was supposed to be a casual dinner with friends, but like every other social gathering, it had turned into the Matthew show. He was in rare form, entertaining our guests with story after story, each one designed to make me look foolish. When I tried to share news about my recent promotion at work, he cut in with a comment about how I probably slept through the meeting where they announced it, since I could sleep through an earthquake. More laughter. More stares. Seriously, though, he continued, draping his arm around my shoulders in that possessive way he had, you should see her try to give presentations at work. Remember that time you called me crying because you forgot the client's name? That never happened. But Matthew had a way of making up stories that sounded just plausible enough, mixing in small truths with his fabrications, until even I sometimes questioned my own memories. And always, when I tried to defend myself, he'd just smile that condescending smile and say, "Relax, it's just a joke." I watched him holding court in our living room, so confident, so sure of his power over me and this audience. But what he didn't know was that I had finally reached my limit. His biggest secret, the one he'd begged me to keep quiet about, was burning in my throat. As I sat there watching him perform, I felt a dangerous clarity settling over me. Maybe it was time for everyone to hear a really funny story. In the beginning, Matthew's jokes seemed harmless enough. We met at a company party where I was representing my marketing firm. He was charming, successful, and when he teased me about spilling my drink, it felt playful rather than cruel. "You're adorable when you're flustered," he'd said, helping me clean up. I mistook his mockery for flirtation. The changes were so subtle at first, a joke here and there about my terrible sense of direction in front of his friends, comments about how I couldn't dress myself without his help. Each time he'd follow up with expensive gifts and romantic gestures, as if to compensate for the sting of his words. I had always been confident in my abilities. My boss, Alex, used to praise my presentation skills and sharp mind. But somewhere along the line, Matthew's constant jokes started seeping into my consciousness. I began second-guessing myself in meetings, hearing his mocking voice in my head. Our wedding day should have been a warning. During his speech, he had the whole room laughing at stories about my clumsiness and forgetfulness. My father looked uncomfortable, but everyone else seemed to find it hilarious. I told myself it was just Matthew's way of expressing love, through humor. The intimacy issues started about 2 years ago. At first, Matthew blamed work stress, then my neediness. When we finally saw a doctor and learned about his impotence, something in him changed. The jokes became meaner, more frequent. It was as if he needed to tear me down to build himself up. "Don't tell anyone," he'd begged after the diagnosis. "This stays between us." I had agreed, wanting to protect him. Even as his public humiliation of me grew worse, I kept his secret. That's what a good wife does, right? Last week, I overheard him on the phone with his friend Brad, making up stories about how I was frigid and impossible to please. My blood boiled as I listened to him twist our private struggles into another opportunity to mock me. I've spent 5 years of my life shrinking myself to avoid becoming the punchline of his next joke. 5 years of forcing laughs while dying inside. 5 years of keeping his secrets while he broadcast my every flaw, real or imagined, to the world. Looking around our living room now at these people who've laughed at his jokes for years, I wonder if they'd still find him so amusing if they knew the truth. "And here's the best part," Matthew was saying, his voice rising with dramatic flair. "Last week, Tasha actually tried to cook a romantic dinner. You should have seen it. Burnt to a crisp, smoke everywhere. She can't even boil water without having a crisis." The laughter felt like needles on my skin. The truth was, I'd spent hours preparing that dinner, trying to create a space for us to talk about our issues. The smoke had only happened because I was distracted by a call from Matthew saying he'd be late. Again. Brad's wife, Jennifer, leaned forward, wine glass in hand. "At least she tries, Matt. When's the last time you cooked anything?" I felt a flutter of gratitude, but Matthew quickly crushed it. "Oh, I make sure she's satisfied in other ways," he smirked, throwing me a knowing look. "Right, honey?" The room erupted in suggestive laughter. I felt my face burning as I watched Matthew bask in their reaction. He knew exactly what he was doing, redirecting attention from his own inadequacies by hinting at a lie. "Actually," I started to say, but Matthew cut me off. "Careful now, sweetheart. We don't want you embarrassing yourself again." His tone was light, playful even, but his eyes held a warning. "Remember last month at the Stevens party, when you tried to tell that story about your client meeting?" "That wasn't—" I tried again. "See what I mean?" Matthew interrupted, addressing our friends. "She gets so confused sometimes. Good thing she has me to keep her straight." Brad and the others chuckled, but I noticed Jennifer watching me with concern. The room felt suffocating, years of accumulated humiliation pressing down on my chest. Then Matthew delivered the final blow. "You know what's funny?" He was on a roll now, feeding off the attention. "Tasha actually suggested we start trying for kids soon. Can you imagine? She can barely take care of herself." The room went quiet. Everyone knew we'd been married 5 years without children. A few uncomfortable glances were exchanged. "I mean, let's be honest," Matthew continued, oblivious to the tension. "Some people just aren't cut out to be parents. Right, honey?" Something inside me crystallized in that moment. All these years, I'd kept his secret out of love, out of loyalty, out of some misguided sense of wifely duty. I'd endured the jokes, the mockery, the constant undermining of my confidence. I'd smiled through the humiliation while he built himself up by tearing me down. But this? Using our private struggles to humiliate me while painting himself as the superior partner? No more. I set my wine glass down carefully, my hands steady for the first time all evening. The truth about our childless marriage was about to become tonight's entertainment. "Matthew," I said, my voice surprisingly steady, "maybe you should tell them about your doctor's appointment last year." The smirk froze on his face. "Honey, you're drunk. Maybe you should get some water." "I'm not drunk. Actually, I'm thinking clearly for the first time in years." I turned to face our friends. Would you like to hear a funny story for once? Matthew stood up abruptly. Who needs a refill? Brad? Jennifer? His voice had an edge of panic. Sit down, Matthew, I said quietly. You love story time, remember? The room grew tense. Our friends glanced between us, sensing the shift in dynamics. Matthew's face darkened as he realized his usual tactics weren't working. Tasha's had too much wine, he announced, trying to regain control. She gets emotional when she drinks. Remember that time at the Christmas party when she— When I what? I interrupted. When I caught you making up stories about our sex life to your friends? Or when I overheard you blaming me for our lack of children? Jennifer set down her wine glass. Matt, maybe you should let her speak. Oh, there's nothing to say, Matthew laughed, but it sounded forced. Tasha's just being dramatic. You know how women get sometimes. Do I get dramatic when you mock my cooking? My job? My appearance? My voice was getting stronger. Or am I being dramatic about the real reason we don't have children? The color drained from Matthew's face. He moved toward me, reaching for my arm. Honey, let's talk about this in private. For a moment, I almost gave in. The familiar urge to protect him, to keep his secret, bubbled up inside me. He must have seen my hesitation because his expression softened. I'm sorry if I went too far with the jokes, he said, his voice gentle. You know I love you. Let's just enjoy the rest of the evening. Brad nodded encouragingly. Come on, Tasha. Matt's just playing around. He doesn't mean anything by it. I almost believed it. Almost fell back into the pattern of smiling and pretending. Matthew's hand was on my shoulder now, squeezing slightly. A warning disguised as affection. Remember what we talked about, he whispered, just loud enough for me to hear. Some things should stay private. That's when I saw it clearly. The manipulation hidden behind the concern, the threat beneath the tenderness. All these years he'd used my silence as permission to humiliate me. My discretion had become his weapon. You're right, Matthew, I said, standing up. Some things should stay private, like your jokes about our sex life, especially since— I paused, meeting his eyes. When was the last time we actually had one? Tasha, he growled. Don't. What's wrong? I thought you loved jokes. I turned to our friends. Want to hear something really funny? For 2 years, my husband has been— Matthew lunged forward, knocking over his wine glass. This isn't funny anymore. No, I agreed, stepping back. It never was. Since we're all sharing funny stories, Jennifer suddenly spoke up, her voice trembling slightly. Maybe we should talk about what you told Brad last week, Matt. Matthew's head snapped toward her. What? About how Tasha's frigid? How she's the reason you can't— Jennifer's voice trailed off meaningfully. The room went deadly quiet. I stared at Jennifer, then at Brad, who was suddenly very interested in his shoes. You've been telling people it's my fault? My voice was barely a whisper. Honey, they're misunderstanding, Matthew stammered. I was just venting to Brad. Guy talk, you know. Guy talk, Jennifer's voice rose. You've been telling everyone at the club that your wife is defective, that she's the reason you can't perform, that she's— Shut up, Matthew shouted, making everyone jump. You don't know what you're talking about. But Jennifer wasn't finished. I heard you at Susan's party, too, making jokes about how Tasha probably couldn't satisfy any man, how she's lucky to have you because no one else would want such a— That's enough! Matthew's face was purple with rage. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. All this time, I'd kept his secret out of loyalty, while he'd been spreading lies about me, making me the joke not just in our home, but everywhere. Actually, I said, my voice cutting through the tension, it's not enough. Not nearly enough. I turned to face our friends. Want to know why we really don't have children? Why Matthew makes jokes about our sex life but never actually talks about it? Why he's so desperate to make me look inadequate? Tasha, please, Matthew begged, his arrogance finally cracking. Think about what you're doing. I have thought about it. For 2 years, I've thought about it. Every time you mocked me in public, every time you made me feel small, every time you blamed me for our problems, I thought about it. I looked around the room, at these people who had laughed at his jokes for years. My husband has been impotent for the past 2 years. Complete erectile dysfunction. That's why we don't have children. That's why he invents stories about my inadequacies. That's why he needs to tear me down in front of everyone, to hide his own issues. The silence was deafening. Matthew stood frozen, his face ashen. The doctor said it was likely psychological. I continued, my voice steady. Suggested therapy, but Matthew refused, said he didn't need help. Instead, he decided to cope by turning me into a punchline. You promised, Matthew whispered, his voice breaking. You promised you'd never tell. And you promised to love and respect me, I replied. I guess we're both disappointments. Brad cleared his throat uncomfortably. Jennifer was staring at Matthew with undisguised disgust. The others shifted in their seats, avoiding eye contact. For the first time in our marriage, Matthew had no clever comeback, no cruel joke to deflect attention. He just stood there, exposed and humiliated, exactly how he'd made me feel for years. The power dynamic had shifted irreversibly. In revealing his secret, I'd freed myself from its weight. Now everyone would know the truth behind his cruel humor, the insecurity driving his need to humiliate me. You've ruined everything. Matthew's voice was low, dangerous. You think this is funny? You think humiliating me makes you better? No, Matthew, I don't think humiliation is funny at all. That's the difference between us. He turned to our friends, desperately trying to salvage his reputation. She's lying. She's trying to embarrass me because she's jealous of my success. You know how she gets... Stop. Brad's voice was firm. Just stop, Matt. We've all seen how you treat her. Oh, so now you're taking her side? Matthew laughed bitterly. After all the times you laughed at my jokes? After everything I told you about her? That's exactly why, Jennifer interjected. The things you've said about Tasha, they were cruel. We should have said something sooner. Matthew's face contorted with rage. You want cruel? Fine. He turned to me, his mask completely gone. Tell them about the promotion you're so proud of. Tell them how you really got it. My heart stopped. This was the one area where his jokes had never ventured. My career. Tell them about the late nights with your boss, he continued, his voice dripping with venom. Tell them why you really got picked over more qualified candidates. The room went silent. This wasn't a joke anymore. This was character assassination. Actually, a new voice spoke from the doorway. I can tell them about that promotion. Everyone turned to see Alex, my boss, standing there. I had forgotten she was coming over later to drop off some contracts. I've been standing here for a while, Alex said, walking into the room. Long enough to hear you try to destroy your wife's reputation to save your own. Matthew's face went pale. This is a private matter. Nothing's private with you, Matthew. Isn't that your thing? Making everything public? Alex turned to the room. Tasha got that promotion because she single-handedly landed the Peterson account. She stayed late working on the pitch, yes, with our entire team. I know because I was there every night. Alex, you don't have to... I started. Yes, I do. She cut me off. I've watched you shrink yourself for years because of him. Not anymore. She faced Matthew directly. Your wife is brilliant at her job. She earned everything she has. The only person riding on someone else's coattails in this marriage is you. Matthew looked around the room, searching for any remaining allies. Finding none, his expression turned ugly. You think this makes you strong? He spat at me. Turning my friends against me? Exposing private medical issues? You're pathetic. I stood up, gathering my purse. No, Matthew. What's pathetic is building yourself up by tearing others down. What's pathetic is blaming your wife for your inadequacies. What's pathetic is thinking that cruelty makes you powerful. I turned to our guests. Thank you for coming. I think the party's over. As people began gathering their things, Matthew made one last attempt. If you walk away now, don't bother coming back. I paused at the stairs. That's the first funny thing you've said all night. Because trust me, Matthew, I won't. Word spread quickly through our social circle. Within a week, everyone knew about Matthew's behavior, not just his medical issues, but the years of cruelty he'd inflicted on me. His carefully crafted image as the charming jokester crumbled as people began sharing their own observations of his bullying. At the country club, where he'd loved holding court with his humor, people started avoiding his table. His jokes fell flat when he tried to mock others, met with uncomfortable silence instead of laughter. Even his closest friends kept their distance, particularly after Jennifer shared more stories about his vicious lies. The final blow came at his firm's annual dinner. Matthew tried to tell one of his funny stories about me, forgetting I wasn't there to be his punching bag anymore. Someone in the crowd spoke up. Is this going to be as accurate as your other stories, Matt? The room erupted in snickers, not at his joke, but at him. He stormed out, humiliated. Later I heard he'd gotten drunk at a bar, ranting about how I'd ruined his life by betraying his confidence. But here's the thing about confidence. Real confidence doesn't come from tearing others down. It took losing my marriage to find mine. But as I packed my things and moved into my new apartment, I finally felt like I could breathe again. The last time I saw Matthew, he tried to make a joke about my moving boxes. Nobody laughed. Turns out cruelty isn't so funny when everyone can see it for what it really is. 6 months later, I barely recognized my life, in the best possible way. My promotion led to even bigger opportunities at work, and without Matthew's constant undermining, I finally felt confident taking them on. Alex became not just my boss, but a close friend, someone who celebrated my successes instead of mocking them. Jennifer and I stayed in touch too. She filed for divorce from Brad a month after our dinner party, saying my stand gave her the courage to face her own unhappy marriage. We meet for coffee regularly now, laughing about things that actually are funny. The divorce proceedings were surprisingly simple. Matthew, so afraid of further humiliation, agreed to my terms without argument. His final attempt at a joke, "At least now everyone knows why we never had kids," fell flat when my lawyer simply stared him down. Last week, I ran into him at a restaurant. He was dining alone, trying to chat up the waitress with his usual jokes. She wasn't laughing. As I passed his table, he called out, "Still can't take a joke, Tasha?" I stopped and turned. "Oh, I can take a joke, Matthew. I just finally realized you were one." Walking away, I heard something I'd never heard in our marriage. Silence from Matthew. No comeback, no mocking laughter, just quiet acceptance of his new reality. These days, when I look in the mirror, I see someone who's done being the punchline of someone else's cruel jokes. I see someone who found her voice, her strength, and her smile again. Turns out the best revenge isn't just exposing a bully, it's reclaiming your joy.